Have you ever stopped to think why, even though you seek so many things, peace continues to elude you? Maybe that's the answer you never expected. The peace you're looking for doesn't come from outside, but from the love that God has already placed within you. What if you discovered that this love has the power to transform every part of your life? Today, I'm going to show you how to experience this truth, not as a distant idea, but as a practical reality. This is a personal journey, and you are at the center of it. What can change if you decide to trust completely in God's love? Now is the time. Don't let this opportunity pass you by, because by the end of this video, you'll realize that living in this love is the key to a transformation that begins within you and impacts everything around you. Shall we go together? I want you to think for a moment. What would it be like to truly know that you are loved exactly as you are, without conditions, without having to prove yourself, without fear of being rejected? God's love is not like human love, which sometimes fluctuates. It is a constant, firm, and complete love. It's a love that doesn't change, even when you make mistakes. And when you allow yourself to believe this, something profound begins to happen inside you. Little by little, the barriers you've built up to protect yourself begin to come down. I know there are days when you feel small, insufficient, or even lost. We all face that. And it's in those moments that the Father's love wants to meet you. Not to charge you or judge you, but to remind you that you are already worthy, because He chose you from the beginning. To live this truth is to accept that you don't have to be perfect to be loved. And this is the key to starting to heal the wounds you carry. It's the end of that constant struggle to be accepted by others or even by yourself. When you know that you are loved by God, something inside you changes. You stop seeing yourself only for your faults and start recognizing the value that has always been there. The fear of not being enough loses strength, because you know deep down that what really matters can't be taken away from you. It's like seeing the right reflection for the first time, the image of who you really are. A being loved and desired by God, regardless of the circumstances. And this transformation is not just for you. It reflects on everything around you. Little by little, you realize that you no longer need to compare yourself with others or seek approval at any cost. You begin to live more freely, more peacefully. And that's when God's love starts to work on you, restoring your identity, removing unnecessary burdens, and inviting you to live more lightly. And the more you experience this love, the more you realize that you can rest in it. Because life isn't about proving yourself or constantly fighting. It's about learning to trust that, in the Father's hands, you are already exactly where you should be, and that you never had to walk alone. How many times have you found yourself fighting against situations that are out of your control? Maybe it's that argument that won't get out of your head, the stress at work, or the anxiety about everything that could go wrong tomorrow. The world seems to push us to believe that, in order to live well, we need to win every battle and control everything around us. But does it have to be that way? What if true peace lies in letting go of this need for control and trusting that the Father is already taking care of everything? The peace I offer is not like that of the world, which depends on favorable circumstances, solved problems, or the absence of conflict. The peace that comes from God's love is different. It is an inner rest, a gentle certainty that, whatever is happening outside, you are safe. When you surrender to this truth, the storms of life lose their power to shake your heart. They will still come, of course, but you no longer have to face them alone. Trust this. There is no problem too big for the Father's love to carry. And when you understand that God is by your side every step of the way, it becomes easier to let go of the worries that consume you. It doesn't mean that you're going to fold your arms and wait for everything to resolve itself, but that your heart no longer needs to be a battle arena. You can act without anxiety, knowing that the outcome is not in your hands alone. Peace comes when you accept that you don't need to control the future, because there is already a purpose in everything. And even if things seem confusing or painful today, God's love transforms every situation into something that can teach you, shape you, and strengthen you. So instead of resisting and fighting what you don't understand, You can simply rest and let the Father act in your life. And it's interesting to realize that when you find this peace, something also happens in your relationships. Fights diminish, exaggerated expectations disappear, and instead more patience and understanding emerge. Because deep down, what you needed most was not to overcome the world, but to learn to trust in the love that has already overcome everything for you. And it is this love that will teach you something even more profound. It's easy to love when things are going well, when people treat you with respect and give you what you expect. But the real challenge comes when we are hurt, rejected, or face situations that push us to the limit. It's in these moments that God's love calls us to something greater, to choose to love, even when everything inside us says otherwise. And believe me, this choice has the power to free your heart from an enormous weight. Loving when we've been hurt isn't about turning a blind eye to what happened or accepting injustice. It's about not allowing pain to turn us into bitter people. When I healed the centurion's servant and welcomed those who denied me, it wasn't because they deserved it, but because I knew that love is the only way that sets you free. Forgiveness and love are gifts you give yourself, so that the poison of anger doesn't consume you and peace can find space in your heart. And I know how difficult it is. Sometimes you feel that if you forgive, you'll be saying that what happened was okay. Or you fear that if you love the person who hurt you, you'll be paving the way for them to be hurt again. But the love that God calls us to live is not passive. It is an act of courage. To love is to decide not to hold on to what has been done, but to connect with what you are. A reflection of the Father's love, which is always greater than any pain. When you choose to love even in the midst of difficulties, something profound happens. Resentment loses its power over you. The barriers that isolate your heart begin to dissolve, and in their place comes a sense of freedom. It doesn't mean that you'll forget everything, but that pain no longer defines who you are. And you start to see the other person, not just as someone who hurt you, but as someone who is also broken and needs the same love you found. And you know what's beautiful? This kind of love is contagious. Little by little you realize that your choice to love, even when it's difficult, begins to touch the people around you. They see the change in you and begin to believe that perhaps they too can love in this way. And so this chain of love continues, opening up new paths and healing wounds that seemed impossible to heal. And it is in this freedom that you will find something even more precious. Have you ever noticed how fear can infiltrate your life in so many ways? Sometimes it comes in the form of anxiety about the future, insecurity about who you are, or even that silent voice telling you that you'll never be enough. Fear is an invisible prison that makes us avoid risks, distrust others, and hide from life. But when you open yourself up to God's love, something extraordinary happens. Fear loses its power over you. The Father's love casts out fear, because in Him you find true security. No matter what happens on the way, you know you're not alone. And when fear knocks at the door, whether in the face of change, loss, or uncertainty, you can take a deep breath and remember, I am loved, and God's love sustains me. This is not a promise that difficulties will disappear, but that you don't have to face them with a restless heart. The freedom to live without fear does not mean that you will never feel fear or worry again. Fear may appear, but it no longer dictates your choices. You learn to move forward, even when circumstances are uncertain, because you trust that the Father takes care of every detail, even those you can't yet see. It's like walking on troubled waters and knowing that you won't sink, because God's love keeps you steady. And this freedom has a powerful effect. You begin to see opportunities where before you only saw threats. Instead of avoiding new paths for fear of failure, you allow yourself to grow and experience the new. In relationships, the courage to be authentic increases, because you no longer need to be loved by everyone. God's love already fills that space, and this frees you to be yourself, imperfect, but whole. When you live without fear, your heart opens up to truly love and be loved. And that's when you begin to realize how much lighter and more purposeful life can be. Because without the weight of fear, love has room to flourish. And the more you experience this freedom, the more you feel a growing desire to let this love overflow and touch other lives around you. When God's love reaches you and transforms who you are, it doesn't stop at you. This love is like a fountain that, the more you drink, the more it gushes out. And there comes a point when you can no longer keep it to yourself. It starts to flow naturally to the people around you, sometimes in small gestures, other times in attitudes that change entire lives. And it is in this overflow that you discover your purpose, to be a light wherever you are. This light doesn't have to be something grandiose. It often appears in small choices. A smile for someone going through a difficult day, a word of encouragement for someone who feels lost, or even a moment of patience when everything around you calls for irritation. You become a bridge between heaven and earth, bringing to the world a reflection of the love that dwells within you. And the most beautiful thing is that, as you offer love, it grows even more within you. And you don't have to wait for the perfect moment to start. God's love works in the most ordinary situations. Maybe you're at work, in line at the supermarket, or living with complicated family members. It's right there that you can be that light. It's not about making speeches or converting anyone, but about letting your way of life, guided by love, speak louder than words. And little by little you will realize that by spreading love, you are also being healed. Every time you offer compassion, a little of your own pain dissolves. Every time you forgive someone, a piece of your heart breaks free. And every time you choose peace over conflict, you grow the kingdom of heaven within you and around you. That's the transformative power of love. It heals not only those who receive it, but also those who give it. And so, without you even realizing it, your life becomes a silent testimony that love is real and present. The world may still be a challenging place, but you are no longer reacting in the same way. Now, you are part of the solution, and every act of love you spread is like a small flame, igniting other flames around you. And together, we can light up even the darkest corners. Because where there is love, there is light. And where there is light, there is abundant life. Living God's love on a daily basis isn't always easy. Sometimes you'll feel tired, misunderstood, or even tempted to fall back into old habits. But I want you to know, every step you take towards this love is worth it. The reward isn't just external. It's a peace that blossoms inside you, a joy that the world can't take away, and a freedom that allows you to be who you were created to be. The path may have its challenges, but it will also lead you to a fuller life, full of meaning and purpose. And you don't have to walk this path alone. The Father is always with you, supporting every step and turning every difficulty into an opportunity to grow and mature. Remember, the love you choose to give and live always comes back to you, multiplied. The more you love, the closer you become to the essence of the kingdom of heaven, which is love in its purest form. If this message has spoken to your heart, I want to invite you to continue this journey with me. Subscribe so that we can walk together, leave your like as a gesture of support, and share this video with someone who also needs to hear this word. Every comment you leave here is a chance to spread a little more light. Thank you for being with me until the end. You are very important, and your journey is unique. May God's love guide your steps, and may you never forget. No matter what happens, you are deeply loved and you are never alone. Let's move forward, one step at a time, living this truth and spreading light wherever we go.